Hiring stop at large consultancies like BCG, Bain, and McKinsey. Here is what you should do now. Hi, my name is Johannes Niari. I'm a project manager in strategy consulting, and on this channel, I want to help you to learn the necessary skills that you need for your first years in consulting. And recently, I had a lot of discussions with many of my friends from different consulting firms, and there are rumors and there is the overall sentiment that there are hiring stops currently in large consulting firms. And the reason for that is that the economic outlook is very, very bad, and many companies are holding their budget very tight, and there are stop hiring consultancies, and that's why the revenue for large consulting firms is a lot under pressure in these days. And of course, the first thing that consultants do is that they try to reduce their costs as well. And of course, the biggest cost positions of consultancies is the personnel. So what they typically do is they don't necessarily fire people, but they stop hiring for a certain amount of time in order to reduce the cost, because you have some high fluctuation in the market. So I made some videos about what a recession or what potential impact a recession could have on the consulting market. I link it up here above, so check this out. Really make sure to inform yourself about that. But the core message is that it's okay and it's really good for the consulting market if there is an economic downturn, because then many companies need to restructure, and this of course is good for the consulting business. And it's also good for the consulting business if there is a boom, because this typically means that companies have a lot of money to spend for external services. There's only one scenario that is really not good for the consulting industry, and this is when there is a lot of uncertainty in the market. And this is exactly what we see right now. Many companies don't know exactly, is a recession coming? How does this impact our business? How are certain things globally developing? So they are really trying to keep that cash tight, and the easiest thing, the first cost-cutting measures that they make is to get rid of all the external support, and this means that they don't do consulting projects anymore. So the big question is now, what should you do? So if the big firms like McKinsey, BCG, Bain, KPMG, PwC, and so on, if they stop hiring, what should you do? And today I want to share 3 tips for that scenario. So tip number 1, and this is really important, is that you don't panic. You have to be aware that this is only a temporary effect. So of course, this might last for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, even a half a year, okay? This might happen. But these times will be over at some point, because this kind of uncertainty, it will kind of change to a certain direction. Either we will have a boom and because the crash is over, or we will have a recession. We will see, but nevertheless it will be only for a certain time. And we saw that in 2020 when we had the COVID lockdowns. This was exactly the same situation. I remember in March 2020 here in Germany, we had the first lockdowns, and this was a real shock for all the corporates, and they immediately stopped doing all of the consulting projects. And then for 3 to 6 months, there were a lot of hiring stops in the industry as well. But after that, it kind of changed again, and then companies start hiring again. So don't panic. Be aware that this is only a temporary effect for the next couple of months, and you have to adjust your planning a little bit. If you start, or if you wanted or planned to join the consulting firms now, maybe you have to be a bit more patient and then try it in 3 or 6 months again. Tip number 2 is that you have to double down your efforts. You see, if there is a hiring freeze, of course, this means that if hiring opens again, that there will be more competition for the same positions, because of course, for a certain amount of time, people didn't get the jobs. So there will be more applicants to the same job. So double down your efforts if it comes to preparing for the job interviews, if it comes to preparing for your career. So really be aware that now is the time to really go all in, and to really even double down your efforts in preparing for your consulting career, because competition will be tougher within this year, and you want to be prepared for that. And tip number 3 is that you prepare yourself and invest in yourself. This is also very important. So use that time and use the know-how that the market will become tougher and tougher, and really use the time to prepare for your career. Okay, so take a lot of time to prepare for your case study interviews, because it will become more tougher. Take care and take some time to brush up your CV. Maybe you do this extra course, maybe you add a certain extracurricular activity, maybe you try to get more practical experience, because the competition will be tougher. Also, make sure that you learn all the necessary consulting skills, because believe me, competition will become tougher. And even if you get a job in consulting, you still have the probation time. You want to be really fit for that. So also invest in your consulting skills. Read a lot of books, try to grow as a person. This is really the time for that you actually need to do. Okay, so tip number 3 again is to invest in yourself and build the necessary skills that you need, because once the application open again and once consultancies start hiring again, you want to be in that position where you have the advantage, where you're just better prepared than your competition for the same jobs. So these are the 3 tips that I can give to you. Again, don't panic. This is tip number 1. Tip number 2 is that you double down your efforts, and tip number 3 is that you prepare for yourself and invest in yourself to build the necessary skills that you need to beat your competition. So this is really important. If you have additional comments, then please of course let it and leave it in the comments below. If you want to learn the consulting skills that you need for your first years in consulting, if you really want to prepare for your consulting career the best way possible, then check out the link below. Here you get a free link to my free masterclass that helps you to learn the necessary skills that you need in consulting. And with that being said, I wish you a very successful day. Hope to talk to you soon. Goodbye, Johannes.